What the hell is Saw Sports or whatever that last call was talking about? What the hell is that?
Guys are from Free Love, man.
What is up, guys? So I'm here to talk about some Dynamo talk. Now, this is going to be a unique series, as each day we will be discussing a position group here at the Houston Dynamo. Discuss the players that are in that position group and whether or not we should keep them or what's going on with their contracts, things of that nature. And I'm going to break it. Each episode will be broken down by position group, like I said. So each day will be a different position group. These videos will not consist of a comment of the day, since these will all be pre-recorded, and we just won't discuss the comment of the day till my next actual Dynamo video. Now, without further ado, before we get going with this video, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to Saucy Sports TV. Obviously, you have Saucy Sports, which is our primary channel where we only discuss about the Houston Texans. Saucy Sports TV is where we discuss the other teams here in Houston, which is Astros, Dynamo, Rockets, any of the other teams here in the Houston and Houston area. This is where we will be discussing those teams. So make sure you subscribe to Saucy Sports TV if you guys want that content. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss this position group. So the goalkeeper position is honestly the most difficult position in soccer. Obviously, this is the position where you're actually allowed to use your hands as long as you're inside the penalty box. A lot of people don't notice that, but yes, goalkeeper is the only position that you're allowed to use your hands on the field. But it's also the most demanding. This is also a position where I wouldn't necessarily say youth is very important. I mean, obviously, if you have a young athletic goalkeeper, that's great to have. But this is one of those positions where experience will be more valued because of the fact that this position requires also command. You are the one that commands that back line. You're the one that, points out players that are open, make sure that they're being covered. You're the one that talks with the defense, make sure they stay on point. So this is a very demanding position, especially asking a lot for a young goalkeeper. Now, looking at all these goalkeepers that the Dynamo had this year, honestly, man, any of these guys be put in between the sticks, and I still think it would have been the same result. That's honestly how I feel. Maybe some of the more experienced guys on this team would probably have better command, but I felt like these guys were more dependent on their back line. And like I said, like I evaluated this season, the defense wasn't bad. It was just that those small mistakes that they slipped up on, really cost the team. And obviously, with the fact that our goalkeepers aren't necessarily world-class caliber, that kind of led to that. But we're going to go ahead and break down each of the players in the goalkeeper position, and I'll give you guys my 2 cents of how I feel about whether we should try to keep them, or should try to just let them go, or any of those things. Now, all three of these keepers, their contracts are actually going to expire by the end of this year, whether it's by the end of November, or by the end of December. All these guys' contracts are due to expire, so some of these guys need to be re-signed if the Dynamo want to have a goalkeeper listed on their roster. But with further ado, let's go ahead and start out with the first keeper. Now, the first goalkeeper I'm going to discuss is actually the one that got majority of the starts for the Houston Dynamo, and that is Joe Willis. His contract is actually going to be expiring in December 31st of this year. He had a total of 32 appearances. He ended up conceding 49 goals and had 4 clean sheets, which means that he had 4 games where he didn't allow a single goal. Like I said, man, how I pretty much reiterated how I feel about the goalkeeper position. These guys are very dependent on their back line. So if their back line is solid, perfect games, that's where they're going to look at. They're going to look well. But I do think Joe Willis had a pretty decent year. I mean, aside from the fact that he did give up 49 goals, but he did have big crucial saves, which is important for goalkeepers. He's very tall, and that's kind of one of his big advantages for him. But I'm not necessarily thrilled about Joe Willis, but I'm not necessarily thrilled with any of these goalkeepers, to be frank. But I think Joe Willis did the job that was needed. I just wish that the Dynamo would have stuck with him instead of switching on and off, so keep switching goalkeepers because they're of a poor performance. Because the fact is, it doesn't help the confidence for a goalkeeper if you keep taking him out of the game. you're not putting him out there as a starter. So I definitely would say if you're going to try to keep Joe Willis, make sure that if he earns the starting job, keep him in there, keep him on the sticks, whether good or bad. Because the problem is that he's just going to be codependent on the back line. And kind of similar to the next guy I'll be discussing on this video. So the next guy I'll be discussing is Tyler Derrick. His contract will be expiring by the end of November. So this is one of those decisions where they're going to have to decide who they want to keep, in my opinion. So Tyler Derrick only made 14 appearances, had conceded 26 goals, and had 1 clean sheet. Tyler Derrick, honestly, he's an academy product. He was developed through the youth academy system. And there was a lot of high hopes in Tyler Derrick. So once the Dynamo ended up trading away their former starting goalkeeper, they ended up expecting that Tyler Derrick would just step right in and just continue on with the similar success that they've had in the goalkeeper position. It's crazy to think that at one point Dynamo had always had a good goalkeeper with them, starting all the way from the beginning when they had Pat Onstad. But I think I'm not remembering the last goalkeeper we had before Tyler Derrick, but we just haven't had a good goalkeeper, consistent goalkeeping since. But Tyler Derrick is the most promising. If I would have to say who's the most athletic goalkeeper, I definitely say by far it is Tyler Derrick. He does have plenty of experience, which is great for him, but like I said, he's just had a few issues that caused some suspensions. Obviously, he had an off-field issue, and which led to him not playing, and then eventually went to Rio Grande Valley trying to regain some momentum back, but I just feel like he hasn't been the same since. He's still promising to me, and I definitely wouldn't be against trying to keep Tyler Derrick, but that's all I really got for him for right now. So let's go ahead and go on to the next guy. So the next person, and actually the last person in this video, is Michael Nelson, whose contract will be expiring at the end of November as well, just like Tyler Derrick. He was drafted in the draft 2 years ago, and honestly, this was one of the few draft picks that I was actually okay with, even though personally I can give two shits about the MLS draft to begin with. But the reason why I like Michael Nelson is because he's young, and he was a captain of SMU when he was there, so there's some promising about him. But the problem with Michael Nelson is just he hasn't gotten opportunities to play, even in Rio Grande Valley, which was the idea was to put him there in Rio Grande Valley so he could be getting more starts. But overall, this past season, he's had a total of 9 appearances, conceded 19 goals, and had 1 clean sheet, and that is with the Rio Grande Valley Toros. His only Dynamo appearance was in the U.S. Open Cup against Minnesota United, where he conceded 3 goals. And so, with me though, I want to keep Michael Nelson. The reason why is because he's young, especially goalkeeper position. I would want to keep him around, and honestly, hopefully push him to be the starting goalkeeper for the Houston Dynamo. So I actually want the Dynamo to be very persistent in trying to keep him of all the goalkeepers, and I'll also go ahead and explain to y'all overall who I want to keep as far as the goalkeeper group. So as far as the goalkeepers go, obviously top priority to me is trying to keep Michael Nelson. The fact that he's young is something that I feel that there's some value there, and I think with the right training and the right coaching and the right giving him the confidence, he could definitely be the starting goalkeeper for the Dynamo. Now, with Joe Willis and Tyler Derrick, I just think these guys want to go out and be a starter somewhere, and I don't think that it's fair to have these two guys in the same roster, because honestly, these guys should be starting goalkeepers somewhere. So the way I feel it's you keep one and let the other go. And if I had to pick between the two, as much as I was really big on Joe Willis and I really liked him, I have to go with Tyler Derrick. And the reason why I go with Tyler Derrick is because of the fact that he is more athletic, in my opinion, than Joe Willis. He has experience. And honestly, this was the guy that the Dynamo fans really did hope that eventually he would be that guy that they go to. And I think that, it's been unfortunate that he was going through that suspension period, because it really just blew off all the momentum that he had as the starting goalkeeper. So I think that if Tyler Derrick has the opportunity to kind of regain that momentum that he had recently before the whole allegations happened, I think that Tyler Derrick could be solid starter for the Houston Dynamo once given all the confidence in him. So I definitely would say keep Tyler Derrick, put him as your number one keeper, keep developing Michael Nelson. I would actually say either look for another young keeper through the MLS draft, or if you see someone in Rio Grande Valley, or you see someone in the youth academy system, just call them up, and that be your just have those guys as your 3 goalkeepers. You shouldn't need more than 3 goalkeepers on your roster anyways. So I think 3 goalkeepers is fine. So like I said, I would keep Tyler Derrick and Michael Nelson, and I would try to find another young goalkeeper. Or the other thing would be finding an older veteran that still can probably play, maybe from Europe, and bring them in and have them be the full-time starter, and have Michael Nelson learn while Tyler Derrick handles the smaller tournaments like the U.S. Open Cup or the other side tournaments that go on, and let that starting goalkeeper focus on the MLS. So that's how I feel about the goalkeeper position. If you guys have any questions or anything just put it in the comments section. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to Saucy Sports TV, as this is the place to get any content from the other teams here in Houston. So with all that being said, man, chucking up a deuce. Y'all stay saucy.
Perfect.